Hey everyone, good afternoon. It's Vicki Williams, the Tennessee broker for Epic Realty. And every Friday, I am interviewing live one of our power agents at Epic Realty. And this week, I'm super excited to have JJ Johannes here, who's a power agent at Epic Realty, as well as our Iowa State broker. Hello, JJ.
Well, Becky, thank you for having me on.
Thanks for being here. So, yesterday we had a little conversation and we talked about your background. And before real estate, you built a really strong background in the IT spectrum. And you were also kind of had that independent mindset from your parents, I believe. So, how did those early experiences through your background from your childhood all the way up to your IT background shape your decision to move into real estate?
From growing up, my dad did construction, and in elementary school, I was already working summers doing construction all the way through my freshman year of college, worked every summer. And so, saw what hard work was, saw what, client relationship was. It's a small business. He worked with a lot of farmers. That's where most of his business was then, and it still is today that he does. So working with farmers and, communities in that way. So saw that, and then my mom was a stay-at-home mom early on, and then she eventually kind of ventured out and started doing some different sales type jobs that where she controlled her schedule from. She was selling the rainbow vacuum cleaners, if everybody remembers when those were out, and then she did Mary Kay Cosmetics and was an independent contractor through that. So, seeing both of my parents kind of running their own business, the work that was behind the scenes with that, but also the flexibility that came with it, impacted me. And then was in IT for a little over a decade. And one of the biggest things I feel like I took away from that helps me in real estate, outside the obvious people like, oh, there's so much technology in real estate, it must be good that you can adapt to things and do that. But really the thing that I find myself leaning on as a skill set is troubleshooting, because we run into a lot of challenges and issues as real estate agents. Vicky, you and I do as state brokers, right? So we run into these challenges. And so troubleshooting is something I really enjoy to do. That type of mindset that I definitely kind of honed in on technology when I was working on creating things and solving problems, kind of moved over into real estate.
Yes, the problem solving skills are almost mandatory in real estate. You've got to be a
Yeah.
good problem solver. So what was the turning point that actually pushed you to go all in real estate and burn the bridges, so to speak, on the IT secure job?
Yeah, reflecting on that makes me really think about, I haven't shared a whole lot of this before, but I've shared it with a few people, but in 2009 is when I made that shift. And so at that point, I had what I thought was a kind of a dream job for me in technology from a decade earlier. I was director of IT for a financial services firm here in town. I thought if I ever got that job, that would be amazing. But my mom, who has passed away, she found out in November that she had fourth-stage lung cancer. And between then and March, when she passed away, I was going to every chemo treatment, driving 3 hours with her, driving her there. We were going constantly to Madison, Wisconsin for that. And so I spent a lot of time with her away from work. Um, and so I was starting to really feel like, you know, how much time do I have to myself? I have a great job, but I'm inside of an office. I don't have a ton of flexibility per se. And at that point, when my mom passed away, my wife and I, three kids were 6, 4, and 2. And so they were going to be entering a stage of their life where I appreciated that my mom was able to go to all these things. And was I going to be able to go to those things? Because I just burned up a whole bunch of my PTO and time off to spend a ton of time with her to go to all these, just making everything for her during that time. And so that's when I really started to think about, like, I have this great job, but is this giving me a great life? Right. And so when I started thinking about that and wanting to be there for them for doctor's appointments and every event they had at school, like if they had a performance in the middle of the day or any activities when they got older, I wanted to make sure I was there for that because that was important to me. I just decided, you know what, I'm going to take the jump. My wife was a stay-at-home mom. My amazing wife, I don't know why she said yes to me taking that wild, crazy jump, but I did. And it's worked out so far.
When you decided to go all in, failure was not an option. and
No.
it drove you to success because you had a stay-at-home wife and three kids, 6, 4, and 2. Failure
Mhm.
was just not an option.
Yep. But a lot of it was looking back. I think the biggest thing was I was very comfortable talking to people in a conversation, and um, I didn't, I never have been, would never deem myself as a salesperson. It was all about, understanding where they're at, having a conversation, being open and transparent, and that's just how I was going to do it.
It's funny that realtors don't want to talk about real estate. A lot of realtors are uncomfortable talking
Yeah.
about real estate to people that own or want to own or need to sell real estate. It's
Yep.
almost like it's a taboo topic. I'm a license holder. I have my license and they know that, but I don't want to ever talk about real estate with them.
Yeah.
Why? We
Yep.
all have to live somewhere, right? We all have to have a house. It's crazy. Um, so we also talked about how you have a three-prong approach to leads. And I've
Mhm.
also heard other top producing agents like yourself mention not putting all of your eggs in one basket or having a tripod. You need three legs. You need to
Yep.
support in different areas. So your three-prong approach to leads were buyers via open houses, sellers through FSBOs and expireds,
Mhm.
and referrals through your sphere of influence and through your community. Um, if you had to triple up one of those three over the next 90 days to get the best return on your investment of time and energy, which one would you pick and why?
Yeah. So for me, the one I would pick to triple down on, and I think as we kind of talked about this yesterday, I think each agent needs to understand what is their sweet spot. um, where do they really excel? So track your numbers so you know that. 60% of my business, 56 to 60% most years comes from past client sphere of influence, right? So if I'm going to triple my business, I'm not actually going to go to that because I've been doing really well at that. I would go to for sale by owners. Um, I don't spend as much time as I when I started talking to them, but I have a very natural cadence and comfortability talking to them. And so if I'm ever like, oh, I need to get some listings, I need to get some activity here, that's who I go to. Just because again, I have a comfortability in talking to them, and um, I track 13 data points every week in both the Cedar Rapids and Iowa City markets that I'm in. And so I'm very well knowledged and versed on what's going on in the market so I can have an educated conversation with them.
Well, you say you have that natural cadence. I'm going to throw this question at you real
Yeah.
quick. How do you start the conversation with a for sale by owner? Is it a phone call, and how do you start that conversation? Just curious.
Yeah. So for me, it comes from a place of value. So I'm going to provide value for them. So when I call them, I have a curiosity of how it's been going so far. What has been the results? I see you have 123 Main Street. They're listed. It's been up for 37 days. You've had 1,250 views. That's a decent number. It's a little bit more than maybe I would expect to see, but you've had 32 people save the property. How has that turned into showings for you? So,
You're
I
getting
like
the
to,
analytics off of Zillow or
Mhm.
somewhere, and then you're just
Yep.
basically telling them the facts
Yep.
and then asking them how's it been going? How many showings have you had? Have you had offers? Kind of
Yep.
a question.
Absolutely. So I lead with curiosity and then I give them value. So on the for sale by owners, the value is I go through their listing and I tell them what they should do to actually sell their house without using me. Like your photos, this is on probably 75, 80% of them. Your photos are the number one thing that can help drive more people to your property. It looks like you might have taken those with your phone, which is completely fine, but I can give you the name of the photographer I use. It costs you about 150 bucks, and that would help you a ton. So, and there's other things I give them ideas and pointers for, but I'm actually giving them advice to sell their house without using me. So I build trust and rapport by understanding that they're trying to save a commission. So I give them that value and give them that information. It's a few minutes off my time. And then if they don't sell, and they're going to list with an agent and they've been bombarded by other people telling them you can't sell for sale by owner, you're going to sell it for less. They're getting a hard sales pitch, or the agent that was actually trying to help them sell, who do you think they're going to call?
Right. So how do you
So,
end the conversation? Do you ask for permission to follow back up? Do you say, hey, is it okay if I check in every couple weeks and just see how it's going?
Yeah, if I'm so like right now with the business I have, I haven't been actively pursuing those.
Yes.
But if I was, yes, it would be, hey, is it okay if I follow up with you in a couple of weeks to see how those changes have affected your results?
I love it, JJ. That's gold. Okay, so let's keep going. How do you structure your day to keep momentum going? And what's your single non-negotiable that our listeners could copy this week?
Yeah. So I'm someone who likes to try different things to see what sticks and then what doesn't work falls off, right? So right now, my number one thing for productivity is I usually the night before, if I can, or the morning, early in the morning, I'm an early riser. Um, I create my top three non-negotiables for the day that need to be done. If I do not get those three things done, I lose the day. If I get those three things, I win the day. My goal is to win every day, but ultimately in a week, I want to win 4 out of 7 days. And
Okay.
so I create a top three. I use Trello, Trello. If anybody hasn't used that before, it's a project management tool. And so I have a widget on my phone. When I pull it up, it shows me, when I open it up on my home screen, it has the top three things listed on there.
Nice.
Until I check those off. So, and those can be one of the things I've definitely learned when I started doing this about 4 months ago or so. Um, you have to have them be manageable to do. So if one of my goals was I want to revise and I want to redo my for sale by owner campaign or whatever it would be, my follow-up funnel on that. If I made that for my goal for today, I'm not going to get that done in one day. It's like I needed to make it a bite-sized chunk, but it has to be a meaningful thing. And not everything I put on there is honestly real estate related. Sometimes I put on there that I want to call my son who lives in Wisconsin today. That's a win if I have that conversation. So it can be personal stuff, it can be work related stuff, but it's at the end of the day, if I look back and I said these three things got done, that was a good day. And so that's my non-negotiable.
That's great advice. So you juggle multiple streams, upfront leads, pay at the closing leads, pay upfront leads, pay at the closing leads, open house referrals. What's your secret sauce for hitting that high volume of 24 plus deals a year? And what's a simple three system step that listeners could duplicate this week?
So the three system step that I think agents will want to think about is one, initial contact. How quickly can you make that initial contact, right? Um, Obviously, phone call wins. Um, I love follow-up systems, which I'm going to talk about next, but phone calls win. So if you can make a phone call, make the phone call. One of the things that I have, being a state broker and talking to people when I had my own independent brokerage for several years, and we had 20 agents, having helped agents go from no deals. Matt Clark, who I think you're going to talk to at some point, did like 70 some deals his first year underneath us as a brand new agent when, we're helping him grow. Is I'm always perplexed by people not wanting to talk to somebody on the phone because the end goal of any lead generation is a phone call or face-to-face conversation. So whatever it is that will help you get there sooner, try to get there. For me, it's educating myself in the market because someone can ask me almost any question about the market and I have no problem answering it because I dump data into my brain to understand how to talk about the market. So initial phone call. Second is you need to have a follow-up plan or system in place, whether no matter what CRM you use, and yes, people will say a spreadsheet is a CRM, and I'm going to say that's not a great CRM for follow-up that I'm talking about. You need to have something that's going to keep them engaged. Sending them text, emails, whatever you want to do. My hack on that is I have infinite loops in my CRM. So I have one or a smart plan, and one smart plan points to another smart plan that points back to the other plan. So they're going to keep getting stuff for me. And I send a monthly newsletter. So you need to have something that's going to keep reaching out to them because you never know when they're going to raise their hand, which I've had that happen twice in the last month for somebody who's been in my system for 3 years. And so you just don't know when their time is. We want to think that we can
Mhm.
talk anybody into buying or selling a house. That is not the truth. They will reach out to us when they need us. So the more you're in front of them, the more likely you're going to be the one they reach out to or one of the agents that you reach out to. So that's the second thing. Third thing, I can't really flip my camera very easily, but I'm behind my camera. I have two whiteboards with my closings and then my hot leads These are people that are going to buy and sell in probably the next 6 months or less. And on all of those leads, I need to have a task that is a manual task, not my automated system, a manual task on those leads in my CRM to remind me to reach out to them about something. So if I don't, those are my three things that you should do.
So we talked yesterday about the R word, rejection. Rejection is a big part of real estate. But you said something really smart yesterday. That is, you have a mindset trick that you use that helps you stay focused. What is that mindset we could share with everyone else? What's that mindset trick?
They're not rejecting you. They're not rejecting you. They might not need you at this point. They might need someone else to help them through their situation of buying and selling. They might not be someone that you may want to work with because we've all had those clients who are like, oh man, I wish maybe I shouldn't have gotten that client, right? So to me, when I get rejected, and as I've told agents, especially newer agents, like I've gotten sworn at, hung up on. Sometimes, my mind isn't right, but I try to very right away, but I collect myself pretty quickly. Like I just wasn't the right person for them.
Let's talk about real quick technology and AI because those are big topics right now.
Yeah.
How are you using tech, JJ, to level up your business? And what's one tool that you would drop maybe because it's overcomplicated or it's not efficient for you?
Yeah, so I definitely use technology I mean, the CRM is a big part of it with Lofty that we have through Epic. I use Zapier and other connections to connect different systems. Um, Zapier API Nation and then N8N is another one that can connect different systems. So I use that quite a bit. Um, the AI thing is an interesting conversation to me because it's something I've been using for several years now. And recently I've been shifting away from ChatGPT actually. So if you said like, what's one thing that you're willing to drop now that you didn't think you would have been a month ago? ChatGPT. Well, I like, being in the technology sector before, I like to test things at the same time. So for the last few months, I give the same question. And by the way, if you're not using Cowboy Prompt, there's a free AI tool. Cowboy Prompt will help you create the prompt that you can put into an LLM, which is a language learning model like ChatGPT. So I use Cowboy Prompt to create my prompt for a listing description. And then I'll put it into ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, Gemini, Gronk. Grok, I should say. So I put it in those five. And right now, Perplexity and Claude are the best consistently. I've put in different scenarios where I'm having it help me with social media posts or emails and how to respond. Right now, Perplexity and Claude continue to be at the top. Like, what are the things that you feel like you need to level up on? And but it doesn't come natural. It's not easy for you. Like, use AI. Use one of those LLMs. And again, I would put it into chat, use Cowboy Prompt first, then go to ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, Grok, Gemini, those five. Put in the answers and which one of those sounds like it fits you best and go from there. So
My last two questions, I end every call with these two questions. They're my favorite questions to ask. Who inspires you? Do you have a favorite person you read or listen to or watch?
well, I will get a little religious for a second. Jesus Christ.
Okay, I'll take it.
I read the Bible daily and the Gospels, and so seeing how much wherever your faith life is, believe it or not, that he rose from the dead. There's no dispute that he was on this earth, and how much he loved people and treated everyone with kindness and love. I think is a true inspiration of how in today's world we need to treat each other.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
Yep.
And then what does JJ's next level up look like and how do you plan to get there?
Ooh. Next
I know it's a
level
loaded
up.
question.
Yeah. Well, over the years, I've had different, ideas of this next level up, and they were milestones to reach, not like from the heart of what drives me. So go back to the story of Like when you asked me the question yesterday about what made me drive there, I answered with a way that wasn't really from my heart. And then I was thinking about it today, coming back from my appointment, and I was thinking about because I saw your questions, I'm like, no, the truth is it's because my mom passed away. She was 51. I'm 51 now. Like, that's the truth. That's real. That's from the heart of why I did it. So before, I'd be like, oh, well, I did, there's several years where I did 50 transactions. I want to get to 100. Well, that's a number. That's not from the heart, right? It's not. So when it comes from the heart, it's my son is getting his real estate license. I want to set him up to be successful. I want to create a business that I have more and more time to step away from the transactional side of things so I can help agents at the state broker side. I want to help my church more. There's things like that that I want to do. So I think leveling up is continuing to serve clients at a high level, but also having time to service agents and service other, I would say, human beings on this earth while I can.
And setting up your son for a successful business and building that legacy.
Mhm.
I love that. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah.
I learn something new every single week, but what I love about real estate, and I think everyone on this call can understand this and appreciate this, is that there's so many different ways to do this business, but it always comes back to building relationships. And you've definitely have focused on that, and it's turned out to be very successful for you.